And welcome to Exing the Huddle with Dan and Jacob. I'm Dan,
I'm Jacob.
and this is a beautiful August 25th Sunday. We're here to talk about all things college football, beginning with Upset Saturday.
We got a couple teams that didn't perform to expectations. We're also going to be talking about some of our picks for this coming week one.
Uh, our dark horses are underdogs and overdogs.
We're also going to be taking a little deep dive into some of our teams that we're going to pick. We're going to have 5 teams each. We're going to pick those teams. We might pick the over the under this spread, but we're going to do a pick 'em.
Yep. So let's huddle up.
All right.
So Saturday, we've been saying this all year long, all year. Any given Saturday, and it happened in Dublin.
To be fair, I kind of called that one.
You sure did. You sure did. Break it down, Jacob.
All right, so we're going to talk about Florida State, Georgia Tech. First off, we're just going to get right out of the way. Georgia Tech upset Florida State. It was 24-21. That doesn't really show a lot of what was going on. If you look at DJ Ugalungale, the transfer out of Oregon State, the new starting quarterback for Florida State, he went 27 to 19 for 193 yards, no picks, but was sacked 4 times. Or maybe that's one time for 4 yards. I can't tell. It says 1-4. I don't know what that
One
means.
for four. Yeah.
He got sacked one time. My bad. You had their running back Roy Dell Williams. He went 12 rushes for 38 yards and 1 touchdown. You had Lawrence Toafili, I think is how you say his name.
Yep.
8 rushes, 32 yards, and 1 touchdown. That's 2 touchdowns. That's basically their entire offense. They must have had.
And I'll tell you this: uh, half of his yards for that entire game was on the first drive.
Their kicker went 2 for 2 with 1 extra point somehow. He had a long of 59 yards. Not really anything dominant, but let's look at Georgia Tech. Their quarterback, Haynes King, who I don't know, I've never heard that name. I'm not sure on that one. Sorry, Georgia Tech fans. You guys aren't really known for football. You might be after this. 11 16, 146 yards. Nothing crazy. Uh, but Jamal Haynes, which you can really confuse really quickly, Haynes King, Jamal Haynes.
Yeah. Yeah.
11 rushes for 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. Their quarterback also had 15 rushes for 54 yards.
Yeah. That last drive where they scored, he ran the ball, I think, 4 times.
Their backup quarterback, I'm assuming, Zach Pyron, had 1 rush for 1 yard and a touchdown. That's 21 points. Tacked it off with, the dagger at the very end of the game. That 44-yard field goal by Burr. I don't know his first name. It just says A. Burr.
I think that's yeah. I can't remember his name either.
But
Um,
it looks like if you look at the game, it's like so.
it was very underwhelming.
Florida State went out first drive in the first 10 minutes of the game. First 5 minutes of the game, scored a touchdown, went for 2, got the 2.
Their rushing touchdown on the very first drive of the game came on a 29-yard run for a touchdown.
28.
28. I'm sorry, 28. Yeah, 28-yard rush for a touchdown.
And then Georgia Tech answered 4 minutes later, 1 yard rushing touchdown by their backup quarterback. He might have got hurt on that play. He could have been a starter. I don't know all the facts. I couldn't watch the game.
I think Haynes took a zinger on that play before,
Uh,
and then they brought in the backup, and the backup is like he's huge. Like he was like the same height as like the offensive lineman.
let's look at it. The backup quarterback is 6'3", 220.
He looked bigger on screen.
And their starting quarterback is 6'3", 215.
Yeah.
But we're going to go over the box score a little bit here. We're going to do a deep dive. Into the first quarter, it was 8-7 Florida State. Then Florida State came out with 11 minutes and 6 seconds and kicked a 52-yard field goal, putting them 11-7. Then Haynes, the running back, rushed for a 1-yard touchdown that puts Georgia Tech up 14-11. Florida State then kicks a 59-yard field goal to end the half, bringing the score to 14-14. Georgia Tech answers literally like the first play of the fourth quarter. Get a 2-yard rushing touchdown, makes it 21-14. Florida State answers with a 1-yard touchdown of their own with 6 minutes 33 seconds left. And as time expired, Georgia Tech kicked a 44-yard field goal to upset at that point number, I believe, 11. It's number 10.
Number 10.
Number 10.
Florida State. And you called that at the beginning of the season.
Did.
Called it in July.
Other games I think we would like to talk about. I don't know what you want.
So I'm going to talk about the game that ended late last night. We're not going to talk about the Hawaii game that started at 11:59 p.m. We are going to talk about SMU Nevada because SMU went in there as huge favorites, huge, and squeaked out with a win. And so Stone, their quarterback, went 17 for 30, 254 yards, one touchdown, and one interception. Against Lewis's for Nevada, 14 for 26 for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. So all the way up, almost, I believe, till halftime. Let's go to the full box score.
Eyes on the phone now.
Your repairs have been scheduled.
Nice.
Yes, you'll get a rental car on site.
And confusion.
Eyes on the phone now.
Oh my gosh.
We're experiencing technical.
Yeah, we are experiencing technical difficulties. So Smith, their running back, went 11 carries, 67 yards, and a tutty. And then Lewis is their running back for Nevada, went 18 carries, 77 yards, 0 tutties. No tutties. But the player of the game was R.J. Maryland. He went 8 receptions, 162 yards, and a tutty. The tutty was the game winner.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
They went down, and so they were down 17-10.
Can help when you're locked out.
SMU came out, scored a field goal, and it's 17-13.
You don't have to make this so tough on
And
yourself.
then
Geico's
Nevada
sending someone
scored
to unlock our
7.
car right now.
Yeah,
And then SMU scored
Whatever you need,
16
get more
unanswered
with
points in the
Geico.
fourth
Here are your
quarter
keys.
to Nevada's.
Third down 8.
Um,
Again deep.
so
Again end zone.
some of the best ones was Lewis had a 21-yard long run for Nevada. Rashard Smith had a 20-yard run. But like I said, R.J. Maryland's 8 for 162 and a touchdown with a 49-yard touchdown. That was the game-winning touchdown.
And they split him out as much
SMU has to clean up their play because the ACC is not going to be this forgiving.
In the mouth. First ACC.
And Doug.
And if we win, we get to tell you how Liberty Mutual customizes car insurance. So you only pay
No, let me look this up.
Seems like Georgia Tech.
BYU. No, that's Big 12. TCU is Big 12 too. Florida State.
Okay, yeah, getting punched in the mouth week 1. I knew it had something to do with Georgia Tech.
So they open up with Florida State at home,
Okay.
and then they have to go to Louisville, to Stanford, and to Duke.
Honestly, 3 of those 4 sound winnable. Florida State, we'll see if they rebound because this is a real test.
Yeah.
For a college football team. These are a lot of young kids.
Especially coming into a conference for their very, very first year. SMU's very first year.
Florida State got punched in the mouth.
I'm going to tell you this. If they play like this
I don't honestly.
the rest of the season, like they did against Georgia Tech, they might win 3 games.
I don't think that bad.
I think, dude, it's bad.
I think there's a lot of talent there. I think a lot of it, and hear me out here, don't hate me on this. I don't think DJ Ugalungale is the answer
He's not.
under center. I think they need somebody else. They probably have a better chance of starting a freshman or a sophomore if they have one available. He might not be as good. He might be faster. He might have a better arm. He might not. That doesn't matter. What matters is in between the ears.
Yeah.
DJ Ugalungale did really well for somebody playing in a failing conference last year.
Yeah.
He played at Oregon State. He had some notable plays.
Yeah. Yeah, he sure did.
I say he's probably going to get drafted just right now. I think somebody's going to pick him up. I think he'll be like Jason Bean out of KU last year, who came in and filled in after an injury. And is currently, he didn't get dropped by the Colts. He's still a Colt. Like the third string quarterback for the Colts or second string or something like that. But we will see.
Let's do some honorable mentions real fast.
Let's talk about one more game. And I think this one's an upset only because it is a FBS team getting upset by an FCS team.
Is that the Montana State game?
That is the Montana State, New Mexico State. And the score does not do it justice because if you read the box score,
Yeah.
the scoring log, that's where it gets crazy. New Mexico lost to Montana State 35-31. Montana State's quarterback went 21 of 32 for 205 and 2 tutties. They had okay, this is where it gets crazy. They had 3 rushing touchdowns
By 3 different people.
3 different people. You had Jones 17 attempts for 167 yards and 1 touchdown, a long of 93, which I think we'll get to that. You had Humphrey, who had 19 of 140 for 1 touchdown, long of 34, and you had their quarterback, Melot, I think is how you say his name. Melot.
Yeah.
Go with Mallet. We're gonna go with Mallet. It's probably wrong, but we're gonna go with it. 9 of 30 for 1 tutty. They also had
McCullough.
I don't know if that's how you say it. He had 7 receptions, 66 yards, 1 tutty. And then they had another player who had 1 reception for 5 yards and a tutty. That's not where this gets crazy. We'll go quick over New Mexico's. They had their quarterback, Dampier, 19-27, 186 yards and 1 touchdown. Wasn't sacked at all. Nothing really for the rushing game. Dampier had a 3 for 34 with a touchdown. They had a long of 24. Bruckles had 4 receptions for 34 yards and 1 touchdown. But that's not where, again, this gets crazy. The game tracker. So, New Mexico State started off the game with a strip sack for a fumble recovery for a touchdown. They went 41 yards. Then they get the ball back, kick field goal. So it's 10-0 New Mexico. Montana State hasn't scored yet. Then New Mexico comes out and scores another touchdown in the second quarter at 17-0. Then their quarterback for Montana State throws a 5-yard passing touchdown, makes it 7-17. Then he throws a 17-yard touchdown, making it 14-17. Going into halftime, New Mexico's quarterback rushes for a 24-yard touchdown, makes it 24-14. We're going to deep dive this one because this gets weird. Going into the third quarter, 13 minutes and 3 seconds into the third quarter, this is their first drive. Montana State's quarterback is stripped again, sacked, fumbles the ball, and is returned for a 13-yard touchdown. It was later reviewed. This play standed. 31-14. Going into the fourth quarter, nothing else has happened. Montana has their quarterback rushes for a 15-yard touchdown, and then 4 minutes and 35 seconds left in the game. Their running back runs for a 93-yard touchdown, bringing the score to 28-31. And with 10 seconds left, the running back runs for a 4-yard touchdown, winning the game 35-31. There were 21 points scored in the fourth quarter, all by Montana State.
So we're looking at somebody's getting fired on the defensive side of the ball.
In theory.
How do you go, or how do you let a team like Montana State, as New Mexico, go in and score 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to win the game? You can't allow that to happen. You can't allow that to happen to keep your job.
Not. But at that same time, kudos to those kids from Montana.
Absolutely. Right here. Applause.
They did a fantastic job, and I applaud them. You know, you got punched in the mouth twice, literally. Fumbled the ball. Their defense scored 14 points on you.
Yeah.
You come back to score 21 unanswered points and win on the final play of the game, basically. I mean, there's 10 seconds left. They probably kicked it off, and then New Mexico tried to probably do a Hail Mary or something. I didn't watch the game. I haven't watched any of the games yet. But I thought that was an honorable mention of a game to talk about, because anytime an FCS school upsets an FBS school, I feel like.
So would you like to know how that game actually ended?
Yeah.
10 seconds left. Brendan Hall kickoff for 65 yards for a touchback. 9 seconds left. New Mexico penalty. Illegal forward pass on Devin Dampier to the New Mexico 21. 0 seconds left. Devin Dampier passing complete to Nick Trulio for a loss of 1 yard. Nick Trulio fumbled, recovered by Montana State Elijah Elliott, returned for 0 yards. And that's how the game ended.
You know that actually reminds me of a little bit.
What's that?
It's not the same caliber, but that reminds me of Michigan Appalachian State.
Oh yeah, for sure. Not the same caliber, but it was kind of the same game.
You got a team. No one's talking about Montana State.
Mm-mm.
People in Montana are even talking about Montana State. Granted, there's like 12 people in Montana, but you go against New Mexico. That's like a gimme. That should be a gimme.
We say it every week. Any given Saturday.
Honestly, out of any given game.
Yeah. Any given Friday. Any given Thursday.
Any given Sunday, Monday.
Yeah. No matter who's playing, you still have to play your opponent. No looky-loos. You can't look ahead. Like, play your opponent.
More like this, and I'm going to talk to you guys about this one. I think it comes out to the end of any game, going into the game, who has more heart. One of my favorite quotes, and this was my senior quote in high school, forever ago. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. And there's also another one, one of my favorite quotes out of Lou Holtz. I used to watch a lot of, I think it was FS Sports, like Fox News Sports they did, and he was always on there. And he used to say, very famously, I only heard him say it once, but he said, the only difference between champ and chump is you.
Absolutely.
So any given Saturday, any given Thursday, any given Sunday, any game, personally, you don't know. Some of these kids might be fired up. Think about it for those kids from Montana State. They just went in on a road game, punched New Mexico in the mouth. Granted, New Mexico is not one of those teams we're going to be talking about the rest of the year.
Unless they keep losing.
But
yeah,
that looks really good on your resume. Say you have a junior, a sophomore, a freshman that played in that game. Maybe they have a chance now to enter the transfer portal.
Oh yeah, to go to a bigger school to get recognized. Absolutely.
I think that's a huge win.
Absolutely. It's not just a huge win for the team, it's a huge win for the players.
And I think the more that we look at this, like, if a school, like, I doubt it's going to happen, but let's say, who does Ohio State open against? Youngstown State?
Akron.
Let's say, probably won't happen. Let's say, hypothetically, Akron upsets Ohio State.
You take that back.
Hypothetically, I don't think it will happen. If it does, I will eat my shirt.
Ryan Day's fired the next day.
Upset Ohio State. You can't tell me that the rest of that season, even if they go 1-11 after that game, you can't tell me that those kids aren't probably going to be jazzed about that whole game all season long.
Absolutely. The Appalachian State, when they beat number 1 Michigan,
Exactly.
they rode
So
and
championship
they
game.
rode that high of that game through the entirety of the season. I'm looking forward to seeing what Montana State can do the rest of the season. I know it's not Michigan. I know it's not Ohio State. They didn't beat up on a ranked opponent, but football's come to Montana. I'm just saying.
I think it's a huge opportunity for those kids, going in and doing that. And I think this is a good segue to talk about what you're talking about. Who are your top 5
This week,
overdogs?
overdogs. Huh. Ruggers, number 1.
Overdog?
Absolutely. I think they're going to smash Howard to pieces.
So overdog, just to clarify, is going to be a team that we think is going to do better than they say on
Yeah.
paper. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what the spread is on the Rutgers Howard game, or even if there is one, but they win that game by 50, 60 points.
FBS, correct?
Yeah.
The spread on that is a 36.5 point.
They beat them by 50.
You think so?
Absolutely.
One of my overdog teams, I'm gonna say honestly, this is a hard one. I'm gonna say Colorado. Colorado has North Dakota State coming into Colorado. It's only a 10-point spread. I think that they can beat them just because it's the first game of the season and they normally start out really hot. I think they beat them by 40.
Okay.
That's just one of mine.
I'm not mad.
I don't.
I'm not mad at that.
Like that
Yeah.
score.
My number 2 for my overdog. You're gonna think I'm fucking crazy.
No.
Wake Forest.
Wake Forest against North Carolina A&T, a 35-point spread.
I think they win by 50.
I could see it. Another one of my overdogs is UCF against, I believe that's New Hampshire. New Hampshire. It is a 41.5-point spread. I think they can easily win by 50. It's not a crazy overdog, but I think it's an overdog.
So this is going to go into one of the primetime games on Thursday night, and we'll talk about this one a little later. I have Minnesota as my overdog. North Carolina is a 1-point favorite, and I think Minnesota wins that game by 20 points.
See, I was gonna have, because they were under. It was an under. I was gonna have Minnesota as one of my underdogs, but
They're playing at home.
they're playing at home, so I kind of agree on that one. I'll piggyback off there. I don't know if it's gonna be that.
I think that game should just be a push anyway.
I think it's gonna be. I think Minnesota will win that game. I just think it's gonna probably be a little bit closer than you're saying. I'm gonna optimistically say 14 points from Minnesota. We're rowing the boat.
We're rowing the boat.
We're rowing the boat.
Go
Gophers.
Row the boat, folks. Let's row the boat together.
Rowing the boat.
All right. Who's your third?
We're gonna go with. We're gonna go with a Saturday game,
Okay.
and I'm gonna say Maryland versus Connecticut. It's a 20.5 point spread. I think Maryland. I think that team is really stout this year. I have them competing for the Big Ten. I don't think they're gonna win it, but I have them finishing top 5 in the Big Ten. I think that they beat Connecticut by, I'll say 35.
Ooh. Okay.
I gotta beat them by 35.
All right. You heard it here first, folks. My number 4. So
A lot of these games are kind of hard to pick for overdogs because all the spreads are like 38 points, 28 points, 10, 50, 48. Like it's hard to. It's hard.
here's another overdog for me. Pitt playing Kent State.
Pitt at Kent State.
They're
4-point.
I think they win by 35. Maybe 40. Who's your number 4?
Iowa versus Illinois State.
What's the spread on that?
22.5.
Oh,
I think Iowa drops 50 points.
oh man, that's hard.
I think it's Illinois State. It's in Iowa. It's an 11 a.m. game. Opening game at home.
Oh, it's hard for me to pick Iowa to score more than 21 points on any given Saturday.
And here's the thing.
Okay.
I think they win 56-0.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's one of my overdogs.
Okay. So my last overdog for this week, I have Oklahoma State, who's only a 9.5 point favorite over South Dakota State.
Mine says PK,
Interesting.
which means that they're not favored. Means it's that's what that means, right?
Oklahoma State is number 17 in the country.
Yeah, but South Dakota State, I think, is like 2-time national.
Says right here, Oklahoma State is a 9.5 point favorite.
Mine it says 54.5 points.
Oh, that's the over and under.
That's total points.
Yeah.
But it says for the spread it says PK.
I'm going by ESPN.
On CBS Sports.
So yeah. But I got Oklahoma State winning by 24.
See that. And I think for my last one, I think we're gonna throw a weird one in here. Sorry. Mississippi State, Ole Miss. Right now, Mississippi State is not Ole Miss. Ole Miss is Ole Miss.
Ole Miss is Ole Miss.
Ole Miss playing Fernham. Or Furnham. Or
70 points.
Furman.
Furman.
They're favored by 41.5. I think that they crush them, and I'd say it'd honestly be at least a 50 to 60 point game. I think they win 70-7.
That's fair.
And I think that brings us into a great one for who are your underdogs?
My underdogs
for the week.
Ooh. So this is I'm gonna pick this, and it reflects a lot about how I think about North Carolina State.
NC State playing
I think
West Carolina, which I didn't know was a thing.
Yeah. Western Carolina, I think they can keep that game close and maybe win with a field goal.
You got West Carolina as an underdog.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I think my first one is going to be. I think I kind of talked about it. I think my underdog, my first one, is going to be Minnesota over. They're going to beat North Carolina. Technically, on the spread, they're +1, which means they're giving the edge to North Carolina. I don't think.
That's why I picked
Carolina walks out of wherever the hell Minnesota is. Minneapolis.
St. Paul, yeah.
St. Paul. I don't think they walk out of there without a loss. And if they do win, they're going to be beat bad.
We have been rowing the boat all year.
We have. I'm big on Minnesota.
I am big on Minnesota as well. My number 2, for my underdog, is your opposite for your overdog, because I have North Dakota State beating Colorado by 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my second underdog, and this might come as a shock, I got Western Michigan going into Wisconsin and beating them.
Oh, man.
24-point spread. I look at it for the sole fact of who Wisconsin has coming up next. They have a nobody So Wisconsin's schedule is Western Michigan, South Dakota, and then number 5 Alabama, where Alabama goes to the big house. Or not the big house.
Camp Randall.
My bad. You don't mix those two up. Camp Randall. So I think they're going to be looking at Alabama for the next 2 weeks. I don't think they're going to be looking at Western Michigan, and I don't think they're going to be looking at South Dakota State. Or that might just be South Dakota. I think with that all being said, it's a night game. Weird things happen.
Jump around in the fourth quarter.
Western Michigan could upset Wisconsin. Will it probably happen? No. But these are my underdogs. Who's your number 3?
My number 3, Florida Atlantic over Michigan State.
Ooh, I'll take that one.
I have Florida Atlantic beating Michigan State by 7. I'm not on the Michigan State hype train.
Neither am I.
They're not as good as they were in the early 2000s, mid 2000s with Mark D'Antonio. They're not that Mark D'Antonio team anymore. And the fact of the matter is, if they keep down this road, they're going to become the next Northwestern. They're going to become the next Indiana.
Did you hear an interesting stat about Indiana?
So,
Even if they went undefeated for the next 20 years, their winning percentage would still be under 500 all time.
damn.
Yeah, it's bad.
Damn. Who is your number 3?
Fresno State. They go to the big house. And I think I pull an Appalachian State against Michigan at home.
That's why I'm laughing so hard.
I just think Fresno State's a tough team. They're not a pushover. They're no Big Ten team, but they're no pushover. And it goes back to the schedule. I think they're going to be looking more forward to playing Texas the next week, which is why I have them possibly potentially being upset.
Yeah.
Anything's possible any given Saturday. It is in Ann Arbor. I got Fresno State. I think it's close. I think it's like a 3-point spread. I think Fresno State kicks a field goal with like 30 seconds left, and then it's just all hell breaks loose.
Or Michigan tries to kick a field goal, it's blocked and returned for a touchdown.
History repeats itself.
That's the Romans. Okay, my number 4. My number 4 for this week, and a lot of people are going to give me a lot of shit about it, but I don't care. Portland State over Washington State.
All right. That's a bold pick, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off.
There's your number 4.
My number 4. I had to look through some of these because I wasn't prepared. I'm gonna say Miami, Ohio upsets Northwestern at home. It's only a 3-point spread, but I think they get upset.
Okay.
That would be an upset.
Okay.
Not a crazy upset, but that is an upset.
You ready for my number 5?
Ready for number 5.
Eastern Michigan over UMass.
Really an upset, though?
UMass is favored by 1.5.
Okay.
Dude, I think Eastern Michigan outscores them. The score is going to be like 40-21.
All right, I got another underdog.
Mhm.
West Virginia upsets Penn State.
That's not.
It's a 9-point spread.
Yeah, but don't they have to go down to West Virginia?
West Virginia.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a 9-point spread. They're +9 for Penn State.
All right. I can get behind it.
All right, now I guess I feel like our dark horse, like you said, and our underdogs are the same thing. So I think we just kind of skip that for this week,
Okay.
and we just go into our predictions for we'll give 5 games.
Five ranked games. Yeah.
Even if they're playing a nobody,
Yeah, absolutely.
and we predict the score. If you guys would like to, if you'd like to leave a comment on our scores, you could say, Jacob, these 5 games, you can be like, let's say, because I know one I'm going to pick already, KU versus Lindenwood, opening up against Lindenwood at Children's Mercy Park because they can't play in Lawrence this year. If you think I'm wrong, you want to accurately predict the score, leave a comment with who you think out of our top 10 teams or teams we're picking. I'm sure that there's going to be a couple overlapping here, but
I think our first games are probably going to be overlapping.
Okay.
So let's start with the very first ranked game between two ranked opponents. Saturday at 11 a.m., Clemson goes to Georgia.
Ooh,
Thoughts?
I know you've been really high on Clemson. I know you've been really low on Georgia. So I feel like I know where you're going with this on this one, and I feel like you're calling for an upset.
You'll be surprised.
If you want my honest opinion, I'm okay with this as being both of our first one. I think Georgia punches Clemson in the mouth. I think it's like 48-17.
I'm not going to give them that much. I know they bring back Carson Beck. I know that they have terrific receivers. But I think that Clemson has some good DBs. They have some good safeties. I don't think that this game is the 13.5-point spread that everybody says it's going to be. I think it's going to be less. I'm looking for Georgia to beat Clemson 28-24.
I could see that. It would be definitely a real gut punch to Georgia if they get upset week 1.
I don't think they're going to get upset, but I think Georgia, I don't think it's going to be 13.5 points. There's no way.
See, I think it's going
Dabo Swinney is going to have that Clemson team ready to play. Kirby Smart is going to have that team ready to play. And it's going to be a dogfight. It's not going to be a high-scoring dogfight, but the over-under is 56.5. Don't take it. Take the under.
I'd probably take the over on this one.
28-24.
I'm still thinking 48-17. I just think it depends on how the game gets started out.
Okay.
I think if Georgia goes out and Georgia gets the ball first, they're on defense, and they go out and they methodically run the ball down the field and wear out that Clemson defense, I think it's a 48-17 game. If Clemson comes out, first couple plays, huge touchdown run, passing touchdown, whatever, because Cade Klubnik is no slouch.
He's not.
But that being said, Clemson's been kind of disappointing ever since Trevor Lawrence left. Last year they looked pretty flat. The year before that looked pretty flat. I think
It's been an uphill battle for Swinney for a couple years.
I think this is going to be a real statement game. I think if Clemson goes out and wins this game, I think that would be a huge push for the rest of their season. And if they win that game, I honestly don't see that there's anything that doesn't stop them from going back to the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
I think if they win this game, I think they win the ACC.
Oh, but by the way Florida State looked last night, Clemson's the front runner right now.
I still think Clemson can win the ACC. I still think Florida State. It's a long season ahead of us. We're week 1.
Yeah, but Georgia Tech already has a conference win over Florida State. So So second game on the list. This is another ranked versus ranked. This is the only two that's happening this week. We have USC taking on LSU in Vegas at a neutral site. Right now, LSU is a 4-point favorite, and the over/under is 63.5.
I can see it being a high-scoring game.
Absolutely.
Who's your pick? I'll piggyback on this with my number 2 as well.
So it's hard for me because I want to believe in Lincoln Riley. I really do. I want to believe in Lincoln Riley as the savior of SC. But he has had NFL talent on that roster for the last 2 years, and he has nothing to show for it. And that's at what point does USC say, you know what, maybe Lincoln Riley wasn't ready to take over a blue blood like SC? He should have stayed at Oklahoma. He was established. He had a good defense every year. He had a good offense every year. And you go to SC because of the name and the brand. That's why he left. Surprise, surprise. I want to believe in Lincoln Riley, but I think LSU smokes him.
I don't. I think it's a close game. I'm okay with that 4-point spread. I think LSU comes out sloppy because they don't have their quarterback from last year. They don't have Jaden Daniels. I think it was his name. Jaden Daniels. They lost a lot of key players in the draft. But again, the same thing like I said with KU. We don't rebuild, we reload. I think they come out a little sloppy. And I think there's a few key turnovers, and I think USC ends up winning 38-35.
Well, that game is a night game. It is a 6:30 Central Time kickoff. 7:30 Eastern.
It's because it's played in Vegas. Is Vegas Mountain or
I don't know.
Pacific?
I want to say they're Mountain.
If it's Mountain, that means it'd be, you said a 6:30 game here?
Be a 5:30 game there.
5:30 or maybe 4:30 if they're in West Coast time.
Yeah.
I know it's close because they're right next to
I know that the end of that game is going to be played. Well, they're playing in the Dome, the new Dome.
They're playing Allegiant Stadium.
Yeah.
Where the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So, no, that's the last two ranked teams that are playing. I will give you my third out of the 5. So we have Miami, number 19 Miami, going to Florida. This is my number 3.
It's a good game.
I don't think Miami has the juice. I think Florida has had all year to prepare, since January, to prepare for Miami. Florida rolls. Let's do that Gator chomp.
I'll kind of agree with you. This isn't my pick, but I will agree. I think Florida wins, but I think it's because of Graham Mertz.
That's fair. That's a fair assumption.
Graham Mertz played at Blue Valley North, I believe, which is like 20 minutes that way. Played at Wisconsin, didn't do real well. I think this is his time to shine in Florida, the Sunshine State, and the sun is going to be shining on Gainesville.
I'm all for it.
I'm all for it too. I'm going to talk about what was another go. I had it picked up and I forgot it. I think one of my games to keep an eye out for is going to be. Where the hell did they go? There actually is another ranked opponent game. It's on Saturday. Notre Dame, number 7 Notre Dame going to number 20 Texas A&M.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that game. That's where game day is going to be.
It's a 3-point spread in favor of Texas A&M. I don't think Notre Dame comes out of there with a loss. Texas A&M's a tough team. I know Kyle Fields is ranked the #1 toughest place to play somehow. I don't understand how.
Me either.
They've been meh for the last 6 years since Johnny Manziel left, or longer. I guess it's been probably longer. Notre Dame's got a good quarterback. He transferred from Duke. What is it, Riley Leonard?
Yeah, that sounds right.
I got Notre Dame. I got Notre Dame winning fairly handedly. I don't think it's going to be crazy blowout. I'm just saying I think they win by 10.
Okay. So you're taking the Fighting Irish, huh?
Taking the Fighting Irish. That's terrible. I'm going to keep doing the accent until I'm wrong. Sounds more Scottish than anything, but I'm not no expert. That's enough out of that one. We're not going to do that again.
All right. My number 4.
Okay.
And my pick changed yesterday.
Okay.
Boston College beats Florida State.
Really?
After watching them play yesterday, Castellano, I believe that's their quarterback's name, Castellano. I think with his ability, just like Haynes, the quarterback for Georgia Tech, just like him, he's going to run the football against that Florida State defense. They're not going to. Everybody on game day yesterday said, "Oh, the Florida State up front, the 4 up front, they're best in college football." I didn't see that yesterday. I didn't see that at all. And if you're going to sit there and tell me that Castellano can't do exactly what Haynes did to Florida State, I would literally tell you you're wrong. Boston College wins that game 30-17.
I'm going to say no. It's not one of my picks, but I'm going to disagree with you. I think Florida State does win this game because, as I said in a previous podcast, there are 3 teams that are known to upset big teams, and they do it regularly. You have Purdue, you have Iowa State, and you have Georgia Tech.
I also have Iowa.
Iowa's normally ranked. We're
Fair.
pretty damn close.
Fair.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
Bless you.
Thank you. I think Florida State just got punched in the mouth by Georgia Tech in Dublin. I think they respond in a big way against Boston College. I don't think it's going to be a rout by any means, but I think that they beat Boston College. I agree with you. I think it's going to be close. But I don't think Boston College beats Florida State.
You heard it here first, folks. Boston College over Florida State.
Good.
Who's your number 4?
Ohio State, Akron.
Okay.
The spread's only 40-something points. I think it's going to be a lot more. I think it's going to be a lot more.
70-3.
I can see him getting shut out. I can see him getting beat 70-0. I think at halftime, it's probably going to already be 48-0 or 50, 56 or whatever. 56-0 or something like that. 55 and whatever. All the starters go out at halftime, and then the backups go in, and they're going to be hungry. I don't think that Akron's starting team is going to be better than Ohio State's third string.
Fair.
I think they drop 70 points. I could realistically say it'd be 70-0.
Okay. And for my 5th and final ranked pick, I have Penn State going in to West Virginia and coming out with a handy win. I think that game's going to be 40, we'll say 40-31.
It's the exact opposite of what I had.
Yep. The exact opposite of what you had.
See, I don't know. West Virginia is one of those weird, sneaky teams. That team is not bad at all. And also, when you have this cross conference play, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, don't be shocked. And if any Big 12, Big 10, SEC games where they play somebody, don't be shocked if the Big 12 comes out and it's just hungry. A lot of those schools want to prove that the Big 12 is no fucking pushover. A lot of people, when you think of college football, you think of powerful conferences, you think of SEC, Big 10. Don't be shocked if Big 12 runs the table this year.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We would also like to know what you think.
Well, I got my last one.
No, hold on. Just leave a comment on my top 5, and then leave a comment on his top 5. What's your number 5?
I think I've kind of mentioned this one earlier, and you guys kind of probably saw this one coming. I got KU playing Lindenwood in Children's Mercy Park. I think it's going to be. I think KU is going to come out hungry this year. I wouldn't be shocked if they beat Lindenwood 77-7. That is a stout KU team. The defense is going to come out hungry.
How many rushing yards is Neil going to have?
250.
250?
250.
Heard it here first, folks.
I think Jalen Daniels is going to have 90-plus yards rushing. And then maybe 300 in the air. It's going to be bad.
So over or under 650 on yards?
Over.
Over?
Over.
Okay. So I really want to go back to you didn't catch game day, right?
No, I saw little blips and highlights of it, and I saw that the only person that picked Florida or didn't pick Florida State was Sheamus, the wrestler.
Yeah.
Who's from Ireland.
He picked Georgia Tech. But I want to go back to something that Nick Saban said to Desmond Howard. So when it came down to doing picks to win the Big Ten, both Desmond Howard and Kirk Herbstreit picked Oregon.
It's weird because Kirk Herbstreit played for Ohio State.
Yeah. Well, you bet with your mind, not your heart.
That's fair.
But there was a segment there when they were picking their national title contenders, and Desmond Howard picked Oregon again over Ohio State. And Nick Saban looked at him and he's like, "You will never pick Ohio State to win anything, will you?" And Desmond Howard kind of just like looked back. He was like he didn't even know Nick Saban was going to say this, and he was kind of put on the spot. And I kind of tend to agree. Anytime they ever pick an Ohio State game on game day, whether they're in Columbus or up in Ann Arbor or anywhere else that Ohio State plays an away game or a home game, they always picks against Ohio State. And I understand that there's a rivalry there.
Yeah,
but
you gotta say, like, you gotta look at it. Like Kirk Herbstreit, when he picks and it's Michigan versus X, Y, and Z, if he thinks Michigan's going to be the better team,
he picks Michigan.
He picks Michigan.
And I'm sick and tired of this ESPN bias with Desmond Howard. At this point,
what did Desmond Howard do in the NFL?
Nothing.
What did he do in college? Did he win a Heisman?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
I don't think he did. Let's Google it real quick.
Yeah, we're gonna Google that.
Google that because I just don't understand. I understand the bias. I get it. Trust me.
He did. He won the Heisman Trophy in '91.
His full name is Desmond Kevin Howard.
Won the Heisman Trophy in '91.
Got drafted round 1, pick 4 by the Washington Redacted. Played for the Jaguars, Packers. Won a Super Bowl with the Packers that one year he was there. Played for the Raiders. Played for the Packers again. And the Detroit Lions. Got a Pro Bowl in 2000. Won the Heisman. Won the Walter Camp Award. Won the Maxwell. His career NFL statistics was honestly kick return not bad. He had 123 receptions for basically 1,600 yards and 7 receiving touchdowns in the NFL. And he had 8,000 kickoff return yards, 3,000 punt return yards, and 8 return touchdowns. So he's basically just a Devin Hester.
Yeah. And where's Devin Hester now?
Probably going into Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Desmond Howard isn't.
No.
Because Desmond Howard had 8, where Devin Hester had like
13.
Was it 13?
I think it was 13.
I could have swore it was more than that. I'm gonna Google that real quick.
Okay.
Keep on your tangent.
So the fact that Nick Saban actually called Desmond Howard out is funny, because that would have never worked with Reese Davis. That would have never worked with Lee Corso. They would have never called. They kind of like the little Ohio State Michigan rivalry on the College Game Day with
20.
damn.
He had 6 kick return touchdowns and 14 punt return touchdowns for a total of 7,333 yards kickoff return and 3,693 punt return yards. Also in his career, wasn't really as flash in the receiving game. Had 255 receptions for 3,311 yards and 16 rushing touchdowns, 16 passing touchdowns. You know what I meant? Receiving. Pro Football Hall of Fame. Holds the NFL record for the most career return touchdowns ever. It's 12 more than Desmond Howard.
But yeah, like I was saying, I like the fact that there's a little bit of rivalry on the College Game Day with Kirk Herbstreit playing Ohio State, Desmond Howard playing in Michigan.
I agree, but at the same time, you can't be biased. You gotta believe in your You can't tell me every single time it's like, hey, and who's our pick of the week this week? Oh, we have number 1 or whatever we're ranked Ohio State versus
Minnesota.
Oh, I got Minnesota. No, you fucking don't. Don't lie to me.
And it's funny because Kirk Herbstreit did actually pick Oregon to win a national title. So Seamus and Reese Davis or not Reese Davis. What's his name? This College Game Day.
That sounds right.
Is it Reese Davis?
That sounds right.
And then
You know what I don't like about who announcers? I can't remember his name, but it's almost every time we watch. And I don't know his name, but if I describe him, he's that bald black dude.
oh,
I don't.
he announces with Joel Klatt.
Can't stand him. I can't remember his name, but I cannot stand him.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Joe Buck. I hate Joe Buck.
Yep.
You know why I hate Joe Buck?
Because he's a racist.
Not even that. That's part of it, but when the Kansas City Royals played in the 2014 World Series,
He was sucking Bumgarner's dick.
he was on Bumgarner's nutsack that entire time. And kudos to the San Francisco Giants for winning that World Series. It must have been really hard for Madison Bumgarner to pitch that well with Joe Buck hanging on your nutsack.
Yep.
And then the next year, when they played the Mets and won, it wasn't necessarily, it would never be like, oh, the Royals hit a home run or this. It was the Mets gave up another home run. I'm like, dude, can you not be so fucking biased?
I try not to be biased on our podcast.
I try not to either, but I get upset with just like this blatant disrespect for some schools.
Yeah. Just because, like, I hate Michigan, but I'm not going to pick Michigan get upset by an FCS school. You will.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, technically, Fresno State isn't an FCS school.
I have Michigan winning 7 or 8 games this year. Are they going to make the playoff? No,
They could.
I don't think so. Not with Oregon and Ohio State and Penn State.
That is a crazy thing I want to talk about here. There's 14 teams going to the playoff this year.
12.
It was 12?
12-team playoff.
My bad. Out of the Power 3 conferences,
You mean Power 4?
is it really 4?
Big 12, ACC, SEC, Big 10?
Okay, my bad. Power 4 conferences. How many schools out of each division do you think go to the dance?
I think the Big 10 get 3. I think the SEC gets 3. I think the ACC gets 3. The Big 12 gets 2.
So who's your dark horse?
Memphis.
Yeah, Memphis going.
Memphis, I think Memphis has the chance to grab that 12 spot as the group of 5. I think they win their first game but lose their second.
Okay. Your mind?
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with you on 2 of those. I don't agree with you on the other.
Big 10 and SEC getting 3.
Yes.
Okay.
I have the ACC getting 1.
They'll get 2 at least. At least 2.
They're getting 1.
They'll get at least 2.
With how the season's starting off already, and
They got fucked out of the playoff last year. You think the college football playoff committee is going to do that again? I don't think so.
okay, I'll give them a high of 2, but projecting 1.
Okay.
So we're at 7, 3 and 3. Actually, you know what? Big Ten gets 4.
Who do you think other than Ohio State and Oregon and Penn State are going to make it? They're not going to put a 7-5 or an 8-4 Michigan into the playoff. They're who's not going to be beat up?
Minnesota.
No, Minnesota 7-5, 8-4. They're not going to make it.
Okay. Well, I still think 4.
Okay.
I think you have a lock with 3.
Yeah.
Penn State, Oregon, and Ohio State.
Yep.
I could see 2 of those.
I could see if they have a good year because USC doesn't play Ohio State or Penn State, do they? I don't think they have to play Michigan.
Played Michigan and Oregon.
Yeah.
I think the 4th team I have coming out of there is going to either be Maryland. It's either Maryland or it's going to be like a Wisconsin team somehow, or maybe an Iowa. Maybe Iowa squeaks out 10 wins. They lose to Ohio State and then Penn State or something like that. Maybe Nebraska. I mean,
Now that's an interesting. If they can get past Colorado and only lose to, let's go to Nebraska's schedule real fast.
I mean, I think it's all possible to have a 4th team sneak in there. It's not all out of the likelihood of possibilities that somehow you have a team out of the Big Ten that doesn't win the title. Because my predictions for the Big Ten title is probably going to be Oregon, Ohio State.
You know what? Nebraska kind of does have the easier time to get to the college football playoff. Here's their schedule.
I think their real big tough test is that Black Friday game or Black Saturday, whatever they called it, where they play at Iowa. That last game of the season.
11-29.
That's the one that has me kind of be like, if they can beat Iowa, I think that they have a legitimate shot of being in the Big Ten championship. I think if you're in the Big Ten championship, I think you're in the college football playoff.
So here's a Nebraska schedule. Open up against Texas El Paso
That's a win.
versus Colorado
I think they beat Colorado.
versus Northern Iowa
They beat Northern Iowa.
versus Illinois
They beat Illinois.
at Purdue
They can beat Purdue.
versus Rutgers
They can beat Rutgers.
at Indiana
Yep.
at Ohio State
They lose that game.
at UCLA goes to Lincoln
I think they can beat them.
at USC
I think they can beat UCLA.
at USC
I think they can beat USC is what I meant.
versus Wisconsin
I think they can beat them, but I think that game's close.
and then at Iowa.
I think that
You have them at 11-1 right now.
I think that Iowa game is a tough one, and I think that's the one they don't win.
10-2. Nebraska?
Nebraska team making the college football playoff isn't out of the realm.
And his what is that Matt Rule's first year?
Yeah.
Yeah. At Matt Rule's first year as head coach, he could make the playoff with this schedule.
Well, if you really look at their schedule, there's only like 3, maybe 4 teams that are like, I don't know.
So going back to the schedule, they don't play Michigan.
No.
They don't play Oregon. They don't play Washington.
And Iowa.
They don't play Penn State. They have the easiest fly in to the college football playoff that I've ever seen in the Big Ten.
But here's the problem. If they make it to the college football playoff, so at 10-2, you have a very legitimate chance of making it to the Big Ten championship. Now, who they play in the Big Ten championship? Now, I got Ohio State going undefeated.
Me too.
In worst case scenario, 11-1. I think the only game they possibly could drop would be to Oregon.
Yeah.
Because it's in Eugene.
Yeah, but there's also that Penn State game. And that's but it's not a whiteout though.
No.
It's not a whiteout. So, I believe that if Ohio State loses to Oregon, the next week they have a bye week. You know who comes to town after that?
Nebraska.
Yeah. Do you really want to go up against a pissed off Ohio State team? I'm going to drop 80 on you. And smile.
That's what gets me. That's why this is so hard, and that's why I think legitimately, I got 2 out of the ACC, I got 3 out of the SEC, and I got 4 predictably. And my predictions out of the Big Ten. So that's 7, 8, 9 teams. So there's 3 teams left. I think 2 out of the Big 12, which my 2 might surprise you.
Utah, KU?
Yep.
I have Utah, Arizona.
See, I think Arizona's going to falter this year. I don't think that they're all that they're made up to be. I think Utah is more built to play in the Big 12.
Well, that's what happens when you have a quarterback who's been there since Moses parted the Red Sea.
Yes, but the thing is Utah is more of a ground and pound team, to where even when they were in the Pac-12, they didn't put up 60, 50 points a game. They'd win 35-27 because they have a defense. Where Arizona was the exact opposite. They'd put up 60 points a game, but they'd give up 50 points a game.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't think Arizona. Out of the new coming teams that I have going into the Big 12, Big 10, ACC, I don't really care about. I think the teams that are going to struggle the most, and I'll even use the new two SEC teams. I think Texas will do okay. I think they have a chance of being in the SEC championship game. I got them legitimately maybe going 10-2. Oklahoma, I don't see Oklahoma doing anything relatively okay. I got them maybe winning 7 games. Now, if you look at the Big Ten, I think the only team that transitions well, because Oregon's offense is so high powered that it's going to be very hard for a lot of these Big Ten teams that are used to a lot of this ground and pound offense, minimal passing, or if they do pass, it's deep down the field, where now you have Oregon's coming in, and it's a lot of short dink and dunk passes. It's a lot of I'm going to throw the ball 5 yards, and it's going to go 80. where I have a running back who runs a 4.40, and I have 3 of them. No one gets tired of, but the other one, and they take out. Like, you can't stop that. But you have USC. I don't think USC is going to do all that hot. I don't think Washington's going to do anything, and I really don't think UCLA is going to do anything.
In my opinion, I don't think UCLA is going to do anything for the foreseeable future.
I
They
can-
lost their best chance in Chip Kelly.
I can see UCLA doing something here in the next few years. I wouldn't be surprised if year 3, they're top 4 in the Big Ten, just because of where they're at. Sunny Southern California.
Yeah, but if you want to go to sunny Southern California, SC is a far better choice.
Same place. They're both in LA.
Yeah, but it's in my opinion, if I was going to go to a college,
What? Well, maybe you only see blue.
I only see W's in my future.
Same thing. I rant here. Big 12. I got Utah going in and being just a powerhouse
Yeah.
right off the rip. I got Arizona State being pretty trash. Honestly, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Arizona State doesn't seem like
Not doing very well. I think the honeymoon's over for not so prime time Deion Sanders.
It's checks racks.
I don't think he gets fired this year. Unless they go if they go 4-8,
again.
he's gone. They're not really showing any signs of improvement.
No.
I mean, look at KU a few years ago. They hired Charlie Weiss, the former Notre Dame head coach. That's a quarterback, and he did nothing. He won like 5 games for him in 3.
Yeah, coming off of an Orange Bowl win.
It was a little after that. Mark Mangino got fired after he threw a kid on the ground or something. Something along
It's like
those
Woody
lines.
Hayes got fired for punching a Clemson kid.
And KU won the Orange Bowl, and the next year beat Minnesota in the Insight Bowl. And then won like 5 games the next season, and they fired Mark Mangino and hired Charlie Weiss. No, it wasn't Charlie Weiss yet. It was Turner Gill out of Buffalo, and he did fuck all for him.
Yeah.
And then they fired him and hired Charlie Weiss, and then he didn't do shit, and then they hired somebody else. Then they hired dude who used to coach LSU, Les Miles.
Yeah.
And he started getting recruiting in the right direction, and then he got fired for doing whatever he did. And then they hired our Lord and Savior, Lance Leibold. And ever since then, KU's been kind of a force to be reckoned with.
So before we end our podcast for tonight, I just want to let you know
Well,
we have
Arizona is not doing all that hot this year. That was the last team.
we have Thursday night games. We have Friday night games.
We have Saturday night games.
We have Saturday night games.
I think Monday.
And we have a Sunday night game. And that's the USC LSU.
That game might be going on during the podcast. We might be doing live scoring updates if anything happens.
Yeah. Which you guys won't see until Monday anyway. But we will be talking about it.
So with all that being said, we are very excited and very ready. My body's ready. Dan's body's ready for the start of the 2024 college football season. We're also excited for the start of the 2024 NFL season and the winding down of the 2023-2024. I don't know how baseball works. 2024, it starts in April. 2024 MLB season. A lot of wild things going on. I got a fan favorite that they have a chance of making the playoffs for the first time since 2015.
Royals?
Kansas City Royals. Like 4th best record in the AL. At least it was until they lost like 3 straight.
Ooh.
But shit happens. But anyways, I digress. I'm on a tangent here. We would like to thank you guys for watching today, watching the podcast, watching every week. Sorry about last week. Dan got sick. But we will be back every week unless anything weird happens. If you'd like to hang out with us and talk to us, join our Discord. It's linked in the description or the info or whatever.
Channel info.
In channel info. Join us for our pick'ems. You know, we'll have these again. If we have, we'll do an actual list of our top 5 games here coming up after the first week in the Discord, and we'll have it the games. If you can accurately pick the top scores, we'll give you a shout out. Speaking of shout outs, anybody would like to talk about?
Yeah, let's give a shout out to all the boys. KJ Too Smooth, Froba, Rome Casanova.
This week,
Who's that?
I'd like to shout out my buddy Jeff, Vulcan Rifle Works on Twitch.
Nice.
He said he'd be watching, so I'm hoping I get a comment. If anybody has any teams, though, or any games or things you'd like us to talk about coming up in the future, because we can't get to every game, but if you guys give us a suggestion for a game, say you really want to talk about week 3, let's say Mizzou plays Alabama or Auburn or something. I don't think that's a game. But hypothetically, you want us to talk about the game? We'll talk about the game. We'll give you our accurate
Analysis.
and our objective opinions. You know, and we'll talk about it. So, again, I'd like to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for joining and tuning in. We're gonna try to figure out how to do this. We're gonna try to figure out eventually how to take the audio and put it on Spotify. If that's something you guys are interested in, let us know. If you know anybody who knows how to edit, hit us up. We might need a little bit of editing.
Yeah.
But I'm just so happy just to be able to do this.
Yeah, dude. Like when they kicked off for the Florida State and Georgia Tech game, there's like a sigh of relief that college football is now back.
Football
Every Saturday is back.
Saturdays are for the boys.
Saturdays are for the
And
boys,
Sundays are for podcasts.
and Sundays are for podcasts, which you should be watching on Sunday night, Monday morning.
But at the end of the day, we'd again like to thank you. And again, like I always say, if you like the video. If you think about subscribing, please consider subscribing. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps us out. We don't make any money off this. But, you know, all the numbers help. And it makes me feel good.
Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers so we can actually do a live podcast.
Podcast, that would be where we want to get. So help us get to that number. I'm not asking for anything crazy.
Yep. Like I said, me and Jacob have pretty good jobs, and we just do this for fun. I just would like to, you know, hopefully by mid-season we can get 1,000 subscribers so that we can go live for, you know, some big games and stuff like that.
And even next year.
And even next year, absolutely.
Switch for next year. This is where joining the Discord helps.
Yep.
You join the Discord, we get to talk about things. If you are really passionate about, let's say, NHL, we can do a couple podcasts in the winter.
Yeah.
Where it's like we're talking about the NHL playoffs, the Stanley Cups. Sorry, Mike. That kind of thing. You know, the World Series. I would like to talk about the World Series. I think that would kind of fit in with our timing. And in the end of the college football season, we'd be able to talk. We probably do one for the NFL playoffs and maybe the Super Bowl, our projections,
And then March Madness.
in March Madness. Those are the ones we want to talk about right now. But again, sorry for my rambling. We're gonna call it a night. Thank you guys so much again for watching Exiting the Huddle.
I'm Dan.
I'm Jacob.
Break.